I'm here at the City of Sumner Rhubarb Days Festival, and I'm here before the huge crowd gets here because I live just down the street, so I just walked here this morning. Every day I like to get up early and really get my day going. I'm a morning person naturally, but the rest of the family, I'm not going to wake them up. And so I just left, so I got some exercise in this morning. But I've been thinking about and I'm praying a lot about sending the kids to public school next year. And I wasn't sure exactly why. The answer that I kept getting was to send them to public school next year. And I had just prayed about it just because I check in with God all the time and also do a self-reflection all the time. And the very clear answer that I kept getting just from prayer is to send them to public school next year. I even posted that video a week or two ago where my husband miraculously showed up right when I was about to start telling his testimony. We ended up at the same public place at the same time, totally unplanned. And I took that video down because I said some personal stuff in it that John wasn't sure that he wanted on the internet, so I took it down. But that same day that miraculous coincidence happened, we were at the park that we always go to right next to our house, and the second grade classes, and Daniel is going to start second grade next year, they all decided to take a field trip to the park that day. So the park was completely packed with second graders, and I couldn't help but think that that's a sign, because I've been thinking about it and praying about it a lot, about sending him to public school. So I got to see all the teachers and see that they're normal and not, and talk to some of them and see that, they say that their school is just this little safe haven, which is what I've heard a lot. That's just different from the rest of the culture near Seattle. It's a little more conservative safe haven right where we live, and all of the grade levels are walking distance from our house. And so it just makes sense to send them to public school from that perspective. It just seems, what are the odds that God put us in the house that we're in and we have that option. However, I have been doing the Bible Bee study with the kids. It's a scripture memorization contest, and they provide these booklets, study guides, workbooks, with like fun activities for the kids. And so I've been going through that with them just as something to do for the summer, to keep them reading and have a little bit more structure and the scripture that I'm giving them. And also I do want them to start memorizing a bit because they're getting old enough for that, I feel. And that really implants the word into their hearts, and gives them some kind of supply to draw from when they get older. That's internal, like teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a lifetime, rather than just me constantly feeding them scripture. That's just various. This is more focused on them actually memorizing it and having it for themselves. But anyway, that's a side point. What has stood out to me more than once, this is the second time that the scripture has really stood out to me, that the wrath of man doesn't work the righteousness of God. And there's scripture near that for context that talks about controlling your tongue. And that really hits me, convicts me about how I discipline my kids, because somewhere in my mind, I think that showing them wrath or showing them I'm upset about something is correcting them, but that's actually not the way to do it. And I know gentle parenting is a buzzword right now, and that's not what I'm talking about here. But what I'm talking about is we should have gentleness and patience and peace and love and joy when we're interacting with people, and at all times. We should be living in the Spirit and produce those fruits of the Spirit. So when I'm showing my kids wrath, it's like being foolish, because I'm not working the righteousness of God, which is what I think I'm doing. I think that I'm teaching them obedience and I'm teaching them the way to go, but I'm actually not. And so I had a dream this morning. Sometimes in between sleep, when you're halfway asleep and halfway awake, it's a spiritual time, and that's what I felt I was in that dreamlike state. And I was learning about not tearing people down but building them up, and that has utility. It has utility for friendships and also for raising the kids. It's not about always tearing them down. It's not about always pruning. Sometimes it's about growth and building them up. You can't only be tearing them down. There has to be building up, and the building up has to be way more than the tearing down. And I've also noticed that when things are more serious, like potty mouth is something that I consider serious, my discipline with yelling at them is not as effective, because I might also yell at them for something that's not that important, like just something that's annoying. And so I think that's really important to save that stuff, save the wrath, save the pruning. Maybe not, I shouldn't say not do it at all, maybe not do it at all, but definitely save that for things that are actually serious. And the rest of the time, it's encouragement and building them up and some kind of positive correction, because they're actually really good kids. They want to do the right things. They want to do good things. And then what I need to do is just tell them with peace, joy, and love and kindness, and just gently correct them. So once I got that, and once I committed to that, because when I got that word, that message, I committed that in my heart just today, that that's how I want to be moving forward. Then I prayed about it again, about homeschooling, and the answer now is yes, to keep homeschooling and not to do public school. So, for me personally, without prayer, I was very surprised that my answer was that I should stop homeschooling and that I should send them to public school. I was super surprised about that, and I trusted God, so I wasn't too overly stressed out. But without God, I would have been totally stressed out about sending them to public school. That's a whole different world and way different stressors. It's a whole new learning curve and risks associated, a major lifestyle change. And I know that it would have some benefits to me, and maybe it would be the right thing to do. And so I trust God, whatever He tells me to do. But I was super surprised by that response, and now I understand that the key, if I'm going to keep homeschooling them and not send them to public school, is in my discipline pattern. It needs to be building them up all the time. I need to be working on building them up all the time, so that when I do need to correct them with quote unquote wrath, or with something that's, negative instead of positively correcting them, that it's not cutting their whole person down. It's not cutting their trunk down. It's just trimming a branch that's going the wrong way, So, that's what I need to do. That's what I'm doing going forward. I was considering public school, and I'm going to keep praying about that in case the answer changes. But today is my first day. I'm really going to focus on just building them up and controlling my tongue, bridling my mouth, and just remember, the wrath of God does not, the wrath of man does not work the righteousness of God. I need to remember that. The wrath of man does not work the righteousness of God. Me yelling at them, showing them wrath, is not the way to correct them. It's not the way to discipline. it's not even the relationship I want to have. It's not the person I want to be either. I don't like it. It's not fun for me. So, amen.